This video is kindly brought to you by Fineco Bank. Just like Italian food, Fineco is simple, yet satisfying. An honest bank with over 20 years behind its belt, one of the trading industry leaders in Europe. Their model is based on transparency and ambition to combine all your banking and trading needs in one place. If you're a UK citizen and feel curious to find out more, the link to Fineco is right below this video. Hello, I'm Marta, welcome back to my channel. Both the title and the subject of today's video come from one of you, my amazing viewers. How to stay sane and keep investing in this current climate. This is something one of you asked me in the comments, and I thought it would be great to make a video about it. Right now we are experiencing a bear market, and there's a lot of talk about looming recession both in the UK and in the USA. The markets are all in red, and some of you are finding it rather hard to stay optimistic about investing. People very often tell me that I'm super composed and often ask me, how on earth do you keep your cool? Speaking of cool, I hope you stayed cool on Friday. If you're in the UK, it was hot. It was so hot that I for a second considered getting a garden swimming pool. I kid you not, but luckily impulse buying is not my habit, so I was able to resist that California dream. So how do I keep my cool? Evidently not by having a swimming pool. Worrying about money is sadly quite common. We worry about money in general, in all shapes and forms. So we worry we don't earn enough, we don't save enough, and we won't have enough to retire on. And once we start investing, we add another money worry to the list. But there are things we can put in place to make the worrying less prominent, less frequent, and much less powerful. These are the ones that worked for me and my clients. Not all of you watching this video are seasoned investors. Some of you are older, some of you are younger, and that means you all have a varying experience of market crashes and recessions. Of course, that lack of experience translates into not knowing what to do, how to behave in a climate like the current one, when all the markets are going down and you're seemingly losing money. Your investments, and so your hard-earned money, is diminishing. And this is what's very likely going through your mind. When is this going to stop? Maybe this is not a good time to be in the market, and I should cut my losses and exit right away. If you're on the financial independence retire early journey, first you are recalculating your early retirement numbers. Then you start seeing your early retirement numbers as merely decent regular retirement numbers. And eventually you start to panic. Panic is not a good friend of pretty much anything, but it's a particularly bad friend of investing. As humans, we're not rational, we're very emotional, and money is extremely emotional. So what you're feeling is not uncommon. Here's the thing though, investing is 80% psychology and 20% maths. So as much as panic is very common, it's a rather unpleasant trap. How can we avoid falling into it? First things first, I'd start with asking yourself two questions. Question number one, did I invest whatever I could lose? I know, this is something you should have asked yourself before even starting to invest. But hey, it's never too late for some self-reflection. Ask yourself this question now. It's quite possible that you invested all your savings. You don't have any kind of emergency fund, or what I call a shit happens fund. And you are thinking, if I lose all this invested money, then that is it. I'm done. Of course, you're not done. There's always a solution, there's always an exit to whatever situation you're in. You simply cannot see it at the moment, you just need to find it. A solution here would be to pause investing for a while and accumulate a shit happens fund before continuing, for example. Then again, chances are that you're an owner of a diversified, stuffed with index and exchange traded funds portfolio. And so you won't lose all your money. The history tells us that much. But that is if you don't panic and don't sell your investments. Meanwhile, your thoughts are running around in your brain, causing havoc to the last bits of your rational thinking. And so, what to do? Or in the words of the famous cook Julia Child,
what should I do?
You are likely to see the size of your portfolio substantially reduced. There is no way around that fact. And so, what you can do on a practical level is take a piece of paper, and next time and every time you check your portfolio value, write down on this piece of paper what I call your indigestion healer number. Here's what to do. Let's say the value of your portfolio is £25,000. You divide that by 2 and write it down. So your indigestion healer number is 12.5k. Then you put that piece of paper on your fridge or above your desk or wherever the hell you want to, but where you look at often enough to see it. That way you get used to it, because this is how much your portfolio could be reduced to in a crash. So you train yourself to not panic when it does happen. The upside of this clever exercise is that more often than not, you're likely to be positively surprised by the actual size of your portfolio every time you do check it. Hey! So that is what you can do on a practical level. On an emotional, psychological level, you need to start believing one universal truth. Your thoughts are not what defines you. Your actions are. You have more than 6,000 thoughts every day. Most of them subconscious, a lot of them totally random and of not much value. So thoughts like, I'm going bankrupt, or I'm ruined, or even, screw this, I'm not doing it well, I'm not making any profit, I'm selling, are not exceptional. You see your hard-earned money going poof, and your head is reacting. That's all that is happening. It's a bit like seeing your beloved woolen jumper. Oh, let's say like the one Sarah Lund wore in The Killing. Have you seen The Killing? Anyway, that kind of jumper. Leaving your washing machine half the size of what it was one short cycle earlier. Do you know anybody whose head wouldn't be filled with thoughts after such an incident? Exactly. The trick is to remember that thoughts are nothing more than just that. Thoughts. They're not powerful as long as you don't act on them. So your task, your master of the universe task, is to keep them separate from your actions. Just let them be, but don't entertain them. They just come and they'll go. Let's break here for a couple of words about the sponsor of this video, Fineco Bank. These guys' mission is to meet your banking and investing needs in one place. When it comes to investing, they offer a web and mobile platforms and also what they call Power Desk, a tailored trading platform. So it doesn't matter if you're a beginner investor or a professional trader, Fineco has clever, modern solutions for your whole investing journey. If you decide to open an account with Fineco, you have a choice of a stocks and shares ISA and a general account, depending on how big is your stash and your current investing needs. The general account gives you access to 26 global markets where you can invest in shares, ETFs, investment funds, bonds, and many other alternatives. There are no fees to have the account active and no exit fees, which is great. If you need a stocks and shares ISA, you can invest in the UK, so UK shares, ETFs, investment funds, and so on. If you're a UK citizen and feel curious to find out more, the link to Fineco is right below this video. The second question to ask yourself is, do I need this money right now? If you have a job, if you have some kind of income and you're not experiencing a major life disaster right now, chances are you don't. You don't need to access that money and you don't need to sell anything. It's really good to remind yourself that you're in this for the long haul. It's not a bus journey to the nearest city. It's a train journey to another country. And no, it's not Eurostar. Think more Trans-Mongolian Express, okay? Alright, questions behind us. The next thing I do to stay sane and keep investing during a crash is ignore the noise. I already talked about the internal noise, the thoughts. And believe me, this is the worst kind of noise you will be dealing with. But the time has come for its fuel. It's forever bully, the external noise. So, the news, ignore it. Read the headlines if you really must. They're more than enough. But stay away from details. We sometimes wrongly believe that we're immune to the news, but trust me, we're not. And giving it a lot of time is the same as giving it a lot of power. To tell you a story, a while back I signed up to Nextdoor. Not sure if you're familiar with it. It's an app where you can read whatever people in your neighborhood decide to share as valuable information. So I was very keen to find out what's happening in my neighborhood and I signed up. And soon I discovered that the peaceful area I've been living in for over 8 years is full of stolen parcels, burglaries, car theft, suspicious behavior and an incredibly high number of whining moaners. I still cherish not using the app anymore because you know what? Sometimes ignorance is bliss. And that is exactly what I suggest you do with external noise like the news, anxious fellow investors, clickbaity content creators or skeptical family members. Do not go into detail with any of those because the detail will create a lot of anxiety in your head and you're clearly not ready for that. I'm coaching a client at the moment. We're working on his business together and this guy is an immigrant. He runs a successful business and he has no idea what The Guardian is. He simply doesn't follow the news. So when we discuss his business vision, he has an absolute disregard for the so-called current climate. He has his vision, his goals, and external circumstances are just whatever environment he will be working on these goals in. That's all. And it's extremely refreshing to work with. Then again, to play the devil's advocate here, maybe you're like me and maybe anxiety motivates you. During the last recession, the short one back in 2020, I read what Rishi Sunak was predicting. In case you don't know who Rishi Sunak is, he is the British Chancellor. His words were quite illustrative and I wrote down his words and put them on my fridge. So yes, not the indigestion healer number, but some dire predictions from Rishi. These were extremely gloomy predictions about the economy and how everybody will be affected. I drew a friendly cloud around the quote and then I added my own words underneath. And my words were a short question directed to me, not to the whole nation, and it read, "Who will get my middle finger?" That way I didn't put my head in the sand, but looked for solutions instead. Mainly to prove to Mr. Sunak that in my world, not in the global economy or national one, he would be wrong. I continued the full-time design contract and I started this YouTube channel. Out of anxiety, I also took extra contracts whenever I could. As I said in this video, truth is what you agree with. And often the disagreeing is where the fun, full of action part is. So if you're like me, then go ahead. Print the worst headlines you see and use them as your motivators. But yeah, still ignore the details because it's simply a waste of your precious time. Next thing I would do to stay sane and keep investing, if anxiety is one of your demons, we all have our demons, and if anxiety happens to be one of yours, I would put a cap on the number of times you check your portfolio. As you might have guessed by now, personally I don't do it because I want to face my fears head on, but I realize that this is not a good approach for everybody. There is evidence that the best performing long-term investors are the ones who either forgot about their portfolios or died. So there's a lesson to be learned here. Pretend you forgot your portfolio exists. Ask your spouse or family member to change your login details and save them for you for a few months. This way you will resist your temptation to keep improving, tweaking, and really knee-jerk reacting. Automate your investments, set up a direct debit, and keep investing, no matter what. Remove the decision-making. And just let your bank make sure that whenever you get paid, a chunk of your money leaves your current account and reaches your investment accounts without your input. Moving on, a very valuable thing to do is to educate yourself on the past crashes, when they took place, how long they lasted and how long it took for the market to recover after each and every one. This will definitely, definitely give you plenty of reassurance. When you invest, you know that past performance does not guarantee future returns. We all know that. I know that, you know that. And yet, we all use the past to have an idea of what returns to hope for in the future. So similarly, when we read about market crashes and recoveries, when we find ourselves in the middle of one, we can use the past to have an idea about how long it could take and what kind of speedy recovery to hope for. So look at the past 20 years of the markets and draw your conclusions. I can tell you already they will be quite optimistic. And finally, something that maybe you don't expect, but I highly recommend you do. Find yourself a hobby. Discover something that you really enjoy doing and dedicate your obsessive thinking to this activity instead of obsessing about your investments. Use this obsessive thinking of yours, this force, to your advantage. So do something for pleasure, for fun, not for money. If you don't have anything like this in your life yet, go and look for it. When you were a kid, you were one skipping heap of curiosity. So go back to that as much as you need to find out something you really enjoy doing and dedicate a good chunk of obsession to it after. Alright guys, this is it. This is what I do today to stay sane and keep investing. Hope you found this video useful and that you do keep investing. If you have your own tips and your own ways of dealing with anxiety and panic when it comes to investing, share them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you soon.